Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline on this chilly night in Pittsburgh. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Zach Brenner bringing up the anchor position there. And Chip was telling us a story today, and I know a lady that watches our show. She's one of our biggest fans, Renee. We just had a shout out to you.
Thanks for watching.
You made Chip's day. He never had that happen. I told him that's happened regularly when I sneak into the Market District. So we'll just talk about that another time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. And I'm glad you're learning stuff and you knew the prophet there. So, and Smoking Jim remembers you out at SIP, so that's a good sign. Well, thanks for watching us also on Verizon 32 everywhere in the area, Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park, and on YouTube we have 271 shows. And I got to thank Cody Heyer, who was a guest. He put it out there, and we have almost 1,000 people that he reached out to that saw our show.
Are we over 4,000?
Just in a day.
Are we over 4,000 likes?
No. You know the show that we have when we have a video?
Yes.
1,000 people saw it, so thank you for that. This is the technology. Zach Brenner's mic will be shut off in about 30 seconds. And we usually talk about what's on our mind, so we're going to hurry to that on this cold evening to try to get Zach in here. He's actually preparing outside. He may have to leave. He was told there's 4 to 8 inches coming here on Tuesday, so he's not in a panic mode yet, but he may have to leave because I didn't see much salt back in his truck because I was going to take some home. And
Is that what you were looking for?
I couldn't find much. And now we're going to do what's on our mind. Zach, what's on your mind?
Well, Al Levine, the Talking Machine, I did a lot of research for today's show.
Blank sheet of paper. Please cut his mic.
Sorry, Smoking Jim. Somebody's got to work out there every day. Well, for you folks that are staying at home and braving the cold,
remember to cut his mic shortly because we all have jobs and we all work in this country. God bless America. Now the only young man working.
I was patting
You're
Smoking Jim
sarcastic
on the
as
back.
can
I was
believe.
messing with Smoking Jim.
You're sarcastic.
There was no pun intended for our lovely viewers at home. It was directly at Smoking Jim.
I took offense to it for everybody in Bethel Park and the tri-state area watching this. Go ahead now. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm sure that the rest of my esteemed colleagues will touch a little bit on this in a bit, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are what's on my mind. Even several days later, I still have a bitter, disgusting taste in my mouth about the performance on Saturday night at Heinz Field. Begging the question, since there's so many issues with contracts and players that are, up for negotiation, including number 7, wink, wink, Levine. We know who the MVP was because we saw what the results on the field were Saturday night. And not having Le'Veon Bell really put that team at a huge disadvantage. With that being said, wink, wink, the team still, in my opinion, had enough talent to win that game and beat Baltimore on Saturday night. But one of the problems that I have going back and watching the game again, which I so often do, Smoking Jim, I watch a lot of film and a lot of game tape. What I have a problem with is Todd Haley's reluctance, knowing that the running game was not going to be established the way that it had been all season, why we were so reluctant to spread out and really go no huddle and really, stretch the field and put Baltimore on its heels. At no point in that game on Saturday night at Heinz Field was Baltimore ever uncomfortable or in a position where they were on the ropes. And that's what really hurt us. Not Ben's 3 turnovers because the offensive line took a step back on Saturday because Le'Veon Bell wasn't there. But I'll concede with Al Levine that Le'Veon Bell was a crucial reason why, and we don't make excuses like our coach on the south side, but I feel that Le'Veon Bell was a huge reason why we lost that game, but not the only reason. And if Todd Haley had any sense about him, we would have, stretched it out, went 5 wide, and really, let it rip and took our chances there because Ben was taking hits regardless, so I'd rather Ben, take hits. But again, guys were dropping balls too. Heath Miller, I don't know if he's played his last game as a Pittsburgh Steeler, but, I got to laud the guy. He's one of the most undervalued players in the league at tight end. But he was dropping balls on Saturday that he normally doesn't drop. So that's what's on my mind, folks. I'm still reeling from the game on Saturday. Can't wait till spring training. Wink, wink. Have a good night. Don't cut my mic.
Do we have any ophthalmologists in the house? Because somebody should check that winking with his eye there. I'm not getting it. But
It's a new year.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. And it always boosts me up when you agree with me on the MVP of the Steelers. And with that, Smoking Jim, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
Here it comes.
you got to see Levine. My option quarterback days here.
Still.
What's on my mind is Zach summed it up greatly. So on my mind is the rise and fall of a great football team. And the last 2 years, Pittsburgh Steelers had an easy schedule. They blew it in 2013. But they did a nice job in 2014, finishing 11-5. But blown opportunities. If we beat the Jets and we beat Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh Steelers, the road to the Super Bowl would go through Heinz Field. Pittsburgh Steelers would have had a bye week. Then they got Le'Veon Bell back. And who knows where the season could have taken them. But as I look further into 2015, I think that the NFL gave Pittsburgh the most difficult schedule in 2015 I've ever seen in my life, and I think it's a very unfair schedule for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm just going to quickly go over the schedule, and as I go over the schedule, you guys try to find a few wins and some losses here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll start with the away games. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Kansas City on the road, San Diego on the road, St. Louis Rams, Seattle Seahawks, and the New England Patriots. And then we quickly go over to the home schedule. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland at home. Denver Broncos. Hey, Primetime. Good to see you, buddy. Oakland Raiders. Arizona Cardinals with the NFL head coach of the year. San Francisco 49ers and the Indianapolis Colts. Real quickly, I look at maybe potential losses as no way we beat Baltimore on the road. Kansas City's a loss at Kansas City. San Diego, Seattle kill us in Seattle. New England's going to be tough to beat on the road. We'll do pretty well at home, but I think Denver will beat us. San Francisco will beat us, and I guarantee you Bruce Arians will beat us. So I'm looking at next year 8-8, no playoffs. And that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. I don't understand the point of all this.
I'll just wait.
Z time.
Well,
Z rebuttal time.
Well, the point is,
Go ahead. We'll have a little discussion.
that the last 2 years they had an easy schedule and didn't take advantage of it, and now they're
They
going to
just
have
did
an
11
extreme.
and 5. Go
If
ahead.
I might-
We'll open up.
If I
a
might
little here.
interject,
Since we're not going to talk
I might-
Steelers later,
this might be
we'll do
one
a little
of the
right
hardest years for Smoking Jim Frazier's pre-draft publication right here. You need to get on it. You need to start watching the Senior Bowl, whatever bowl, and get on it and find us some talent, because we cannot continue to draft and have these subpar drafts, because you see what having subpar drafts, it's setting this franchise back. We don't even have any players from the 2010-2009 draft on the roster. That's amazing.
You're
And it's
firing
not like
Chip
these
up,
guys
I'll tell
last
you why.
long anyways. They got like a 3 or 4 year span on a good guy, but I'm just like, that's just atrocious. That just goes to the lack of, give Smoking Jim 2 steaks on draft night and get his best picks, because we need a new Ike Taylor.
I'm glad we're not doing a Steelers segment. We're all covering it now, and I don't know what Chip will do, but it's Chip the Prophet Hayner's time. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan. And just to kind of rebut my friend Jim's observation.
What a surprise.
And if you know anything about the NFL and the dynamics of the NFL, how does anybody know what any of these teams are going to do next year? Because there's such a turnover in rosters, and free agency has caused the movement of so many different players that I can't right now say that anybody's going to be worth anything. We'll see what happens once the drafts happen, the free agents are signed, and you see what kind of team they got to put on the field. I'm going to be optimistic about the Steelers' future because we've got Bennett quarterback. He will be re-signed, and for big money. But this past weekend, it's probably the first time I got to watch all the football games played on the weekend. And if anything of watching the first round of the NFL playoffs is I learned this weekend, first thing, Andy Dalton's never going to win a playoff game. That's pretty much guaranteed. Tony Romo lived to fail another day. He'll go up to Lambeau Field and step on it pretty good right up there. Bruce Arians is the furthest thing from a genius. His worst offensive performance in NFL playoff history.
70 yards.
And I hate the Ravens. The Steelers game, it broke my heart. But, it only expressed the importance of why Le'Veon Bell was the team's MVP. With no running attack to respect, the Ravens pinned their ears back and they pummeled Ben Roethlisberger. So I'm not even going to criticize the play calling of Todd Haley because you know what? Ben didn't have time to scratch his head. And he got concussed in the middle of the game and then somehow the concussion protocols kind of got glossed over. But, we had a game to win, so what's more important, players' health or winning a football game? That's what's on my mind.
Wow. You guys covered most of what I said, and I'm not going to repeat what I said yesterday, but I do feel better with my esteemed colleagues pumping me up. With that being said, I'm still happy about the Steelers season. They had a weak schedule, and we're so spoiled. And I can't even say 8-8's not great, but I did because that was just pummeled so much the last 2 years. But think about it: how many cities had 11-5 records? And here we are. We got 3 major sports. All of them are in the playoffs in 1 year. That's awesome. So we lost. So Baltimore was the better team. We're
Saturday
not the best.
Night.
Yeah.
Saturday night.
We're not, yeah, but that was then. That's in one game. You only get one shot. This is one and you're
That's
done.
it.
Just like NCAA basketball.
Just like the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I was waiting for that.
Well, we knew that had to come up, Chip. It's the first time of
Yeah,
2015.
you know what?
If
I
you didn't
figured-
say it,
I
we
figured-
wouldn't
I figured
have
I
it.
had to take it just to take the steam out of somebody else's sails.
That's all right. He had a big paragraph written on that blank sheet of paper like you can't believe about the Buccos. But anyhow, I'm glad it's sinking in. That sandbox is slow today. There's a lot of congestion. But it was a great year. And how do you say it? Well, not everybody predicted they'd even have a winning record. Some of the guys on CBS were talking about that, and the Fan and everybody else, maybe 7-9, 8-8. So who knows? I'm happy about it. Let's go get them next year. I don't know what's going to happen. That crystal ball, I don't know what referee is going to be with Jerry Jones or some other billionaire. I can't figure it out, but this was known. And you don't believe in corruption? That's a story for another day. And that's what's on my mind.
Hey, Alan, just in closing to kind of tie this football thing up in a bow, one of the things that I found most distressing of this weekend's playoff games, I find it shameful that the referees could have an impact on the outcomes of so many games.
Hey, Chip, I saved that because my dad was a basketball referee, as you guys know. And I have something somewhere here that we got certain subjects we'll cover because we're trying to get a little more.
We will.
Right there, because
We'll talk about it later.
we all should mention that.
All right, well, we can discuss that later.
Because that determined a lot of games. And some of the guys that are gamblers, known gamblers.
Get ready for a lot of fiction.
Hold it. You stole my line. Fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Hey, thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. I'm going to try to get through this without getting a tear in my eye.
How far back are you going?
But we're going back a little ways. But first of all, just like to start off with giving condolences
Aw,
to
man.
losing Stuart Scott. And it's on there. Thanks.
This
I know
will be
you-
our
I
segment.
know you know more about black people than anybody.
We'll
I
just
know.
do that segment right now. Why
Well-
don't you
well-
lead us on that?
Well, that's
Because
not.
you're like the Reverend Smoking Jim.
Well, that's not really my
on,
fiction,
Ray
in
Ray.
fact. But
Oh.
I just wanted to say that. But
Okay.
I just wanted to give credit where credit is due. Really, the beginning of it, and we'll get more into this in February, Black History Month. But
Why do they have that, you asked?
the guy that
I remember you asked that.
the original guy that don't get a whole lot of credit is the late, great Ralph Wiley. And Ralph Wiley was a writer, wrote for Sports Illustrated. And I tell you what, Ralph Wiley and Boomer Esiason had a lot of influence on me because I always felt like if I got an opportunity at anything, I would do it my own way, whether I got fired or not. And Ralph Wiley, when he got a TV job, and Boomer Esiason got the Monday night job, they changed their personalities and both got canned. But Ralph opened the door for Stuart Scott, and Stuart Scott opened the door for guys like Stephen A. Smith, who I don't agree with a whole lot, but you got to give credit where credit is due. But anywho,
Yeah,
this is what's on my mind. The last game, Baltimore game, which I won a lot of money. If anybody's seen the sports group that I'm in with Al, I put it out there before the game what was going to happen. So
you now own 2 more houses.
I own 2 more houses, and if Oregon pulls through, like I've already said, it'll be a great year. There you go. But anyhow, this last game against Baltimore was my last game. 15 years at Heinz Field, over 15 years at Three Rivers, season ticket holder since I was 4 years old. But I gave up my season tickets. Held on to them for a long time for me and my dad. Me and my dad always went to the game, but he's been living down south now for a long time. But what's on my mind is 1994, a little memory from Three Rivers Stadium. I was a young kid in 94, never been to South Beach before, had 2 tickets to the Super Bowl game in Miami, and taking a girl that was, boy, she looked good in jeans, man. And we were already.
That's how you remember the game?
Yeah, we're all set, ready to go. And there was a guy named Junior Seau in the San Diego Chargers. Anybody knows anything about me, and Zach said it earlier, I go back, I've watched since 1990 every Steeler game at least twice since I got a VCR in 1990.
Thank
This
God for
particular
VCRs.
game, this was the only game I've never went back and watched. The Steelers was dominating San Diego until Junior Seau played like a madman, and they had a Samoan tight end catch a touchdown pass. Papunu. And all of a sudden you could just see the momentum of the game shifting, and all of a sudden I could just see my South Beach dreams going away. And the 1994 upset of the San Diego Chargers over the Pittsburgh Steelers was probably the low point of my Three River Stadium career.
Wow.
And that's my fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Hey, Jim, just to speak to that, that year.
But anywho, before you go there, no more. I'm no longer a season ticket holder officially as of Saturday night for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So anytime I go to the Pittsburgh Steelers game now, I'll be sitting in the press box.
Can I get your tickets?
His daddy sold them.
Already gave them to somebody.
Jim, to speak
What's
to
her
that
name?
game right there, to speak to that game when the Steelers lost to the Chargers that year, the San Francisco 49ers were a juggernaut.
Mm-hmm.
They were definitely the best team in the NFL.
Rob Wilson would have shut Rice down that year.
Only loss the 49ers had that year was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
And if the Steelers would have played them again in the Super Bowl, they would have beat them. But unfortunately, they couldn't get past the San Diego Chargers. The only loss they were 18-1 that year.
Wow. Ain't that
That's
something? Good
my
job.
little fiction and fact.
That's great.
Force Jim's Almanac.
It sounds like more fact than fiction.
You know me. Sometimes I get them wrong.
I know, but that was more factual on that one. I remember a couple of those. But now, since you got a little segue, let's go to Chip's Trivia Time.
Chip's Trivia Time. Well, tonight I'm pretty happy to say that Major League Baseball has opened the doors of Cooperstown for 4 deserving souls this year. This year, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, John Smoltz, and Craig Biggio all got elected into the Hall of Fame. And if you remember a few months ago,
This was scripted. This was all scripted.
Because it's supposed
We're
to be
losing. No,
trivia.
go ahead.
You already knew
Yeah, I
that was
know.
going here
Yeah.
anyhow.
I do have something to say in a segment on it.
But,
though.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the four men were elected into the Hall of Fame a couple of months ago. I brought this up about the gentlemen that were going to get elected, and I did say that these four men would enter the Hall. Randy Johnson got 97.3% of the vote, which is the 8th highest vote total of anybody in Major League Baseball history. Pedro Martinez got 91.1% of the vote. John Smoltz got 82.9%. And Craig Biggio, who missed making the Hall of Fame last year by 2 votes, got 82.7% of the vote. Now, to enter into the Hall of Fame, what you need is 75% of the vote. 75% of the vote is 412 votes of the 549 voting members. So,
And you answered a question. That's what we wanted to know last year. How many guys actually vote?
yep.
So that's why I'm letting you roll a little on your Chips trivia time, because you did post something up on Facebook. I had already written these down earlier, but that's not a problem. You did tell me that.
Okay,
These
so-
other guys are shooting for the moon.
Yep. So, the 2 people that got close and proved their standing from last year was Mike Piazza at 69.9% of the vote.
How many?
69.9, and Jeff Bagwell at 55.7% of the vote. Now, just to give you a brief gloss over of their career accomplishments, Craig Biggio, up until today, was the only hitter in the 3,000 hit club that hasn't made the Hall of Fame, that's eligible to make the Hall of Fame. Now, I know Jim's going to bring up that guy from Cincinnati, but he's not eligible to be voted into the Hall of Fame because he agreed to a lifetime ban.
He's a little slow today.
Randy Johnson had 303 wins in his career, won 5 Cy Young Awards, won 4 of those consecutively for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and amassed 4,875 strikeouts in his career, number 2 all-time in Major League history. Pedro Martinez, even though he didn't have the 300 win total, had 219 wins and 100 losses. He won 3 Cy Young Awards. He had an amazing triple crown that he achieved in 1999. In 1999, he led the league in wins with 23 wins. He led the league in ERA with an ERA of 2.07, and he had 313 Ks, leading all statistical categories for the year. Don't think it's been done before. And John Smoltz not only was an excellent starting pitcher for the Braves that won 14 consecutive division championships, 213 wins as a starter. He also sacrificed his career statistics to be a reliever when the team needed him to be, and amassed 154 saves. So that lets me down to just a couple other small points here. 2 of the people that didn't quite make it, people feel that they should be voted into the Hall of Fame, and a majority of the people that vote for the Hall of Fame don't think so. Barry Bonds ended up with 36.8% of the vote. Of a 412 votes needed, he got 202. Roger Clemens got 206, and he got 37.5% of the vote. Now, it doesn't seem that they're going to get elected in anytime soon, and I think the only chance they have of making the Hall of Fame will be further on down the road when a lot of the older sports writers die and the younger ones move in. They'll get elected in as in the seniors, because you're only eligible for the Hall for 10 years after you're retired for 5 years. You become eligible.
Then
You're
5
eligible
more
for the
years.
next 10, and
Was
then
it 10?
and then unless you get less than 10% of the vote.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's some exceptions.
But Randy Johnson, 97.3% of the vote. Do you realize that there has never been a ball player that's got 100% of the vote to get into the Hall of Fame? The highest recipients of votes, and I find the first 2 of these doesn't surprise me, but I find the ironic thing about them. Tom Seaver with 98.9, Nolan Ryan at 98.7. The unique thing about these 2, they started out as rookie pitchers on the 1969 amazing Mets. The Mets that were the worst team in baseball, that shocked the world by beating the Baltimore Orioles for the World Series that year. I find it interesting that they were rookies in the same year, and they both entered the Hall of Fame. Cal Ripken Jr. was number 3 with 98.5. Ty Cobb got 98.2% of the vote. And anybody would have thought he would be a first ballot unanimous. George Brett at 98.2. The true home run champion, Hank Aaron at 97.8.
Finally a brother in the top.
Tony Gwynn at 97.6, and Randy Johnson, number 8, at 97.3.
Wow.
But that's my trivia for you this week. Congratulations to this year's Hall of Fame honorees. They'll be enshrined in Cooperstown this summer.
Derek Jeter better not beat them guys out.
Hey, you know what?
He's
Derek
the one-
Jeter
he
very
might get
easily
100%.
could be the first ball player to get 100% of the vote.
Overrated.
And that's why he's a sports writer, folks, not of baseball. Thanks, Chip. Appreciate it. Now we'll go to Z time. What could be on Z time? I'll pass you some cards so you can steal something. Would you like to talk about that? Or this? Or that? Or this? Or that?
Hey, just slide them down.
No.
I'll knock 'em off.
No,
I can't see
you're
them?
done. You're banned
All right.
this year because we're going to do segments. Dave Cable said you didn't win an award because you can't follow orders on air.
Oh, okay. All right, Dave. If that's the criteria, well, we'll talk about.
See how he's cheating in class?
We can talk about it.
Everybody that was in his school, and he missed by one vote, we found out, because he was cheating off of your papers. Look at that right eye.
Wink,
Close
wink.
your notebook. You got it. That's what I was getting to. Here. I'm strong in the new year.
You knocked that one out of the park. You look like the Bambino there.
Exactly. 95 years ago, he become a Yankee.
All right. Well, since Al Levine wants to,
I'm just having fun like Z does. To all his fans out there, no wink, no wink. I'm having fun like he does.
I
He
take
can
it
wink
back.
all he wants.
I'll take it all back. All
No,
the
no, I don't
wins.
want you to.
I'll take back all the
You
wins.
can't. Once they're on air, they're forever.
Well, I think that we can touch on the NFL referees. I mean, in any sport at any level, whenever there's a human element, it's gonna come with errors. One human might see something differently than another, so that's always gonna have to be something that's gonna have to be taken into account. But what baffles me most now is with the introduction of instant replay in so many sports and the great angles and HD TV and the best quality picture that anybody's ever seen in your guys' lifetime, let alone mine. But
Yours too.
huh?
It's gotten even
All right,
better.
you guys started in black and white, I believe. Smoking Jim used to crank it. Oh, that was the car. But back to the officiating. I mean, like I said, it's baffling to me how these guys can continue to affect the game in such a major way when you have all these fail-safe things in place in the CBA, Levine, to try to thwart these things. Well, how they could just that call in the Detroit Lions versus Dallas Cowboys. Let's just take the call where there was blatant pass interference. The linebacker didn't even turn around to look for the ball. That's that's in there, Levine. That's one. Forget face guarding. Let's take face guarding out. Let's just take it to.
Well, that's one of a number of calls that were questionable in that game.
So, but on the same play though, there's potentially offensive pass interference. So those two calls would have offset, and the down would have been repeated. And I don't live my life in the what if games, but they need to be held accountable. When the refs in baseball, when the umpires in baseball are terrible, they need to be held accountable. When the NHL referees are there needs to be a standard across the board for these guys. I'm sure they have a union, Levine, in every these umpires.
That wasn't on the card here. I'll put it on the back. Union? All right, we'll discuss that.
Alan's a big union guy.
Yeah.
He is. He could get into the nuances of why these guys are able to still keep their jobs even being so ineffective.
Don't shut his mic off yet. He still has a job here. Oh, am I talking out loud?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're trying to get some interjection from
Oh, I didn't realize I was talking out loud. That's what's fun about watching Pittsburgh Sportsline.
Well, the problem with the call that you're talking about, it was the fact that the referee threw the flag, and he identified that there was a foul. Then all of a sudden he picked up the flag and
No explanation.
and with no explanation. Now, was there a foul or wasn't there a foul? And if there was a foul, you threw the flag. So you threw the flag and there was a foul, and then all of a sudden you decided, no, there isn't. Even the head of the referees in the NFL has said that the referees blew that call. That should have been defensive pass interference. It actually would have been holding on the defender,
Yes.
and it would have been a 5-yard penalty, automatic first down. Changes the whole complexion of the game. But, I
Yes,
mean,
it
how do you
does.
throw the flag saying that it is a penalty and then it isn't a penalty? I mean, it's either it is or it isn't. If it wasn't a penalty, you wouldn't have thrown the flag. That's what
And
I don't
since you threw
understand.
unions out, I'll
Okay,
bring it
let's
up.
do it.
The unions are here because they wanted to control people. So you keep some of the incompetent ones who you can bully them. You have some of the good ones you have in your regular games, and then you change rules constantly. So what are they supposed to do?
Touching on a little bit on the rules changes here, I think it's hurt one of our subpar safeties, Mitchell. I think he's gotten a
Flagged.
little bit of a worse rap, but not into his defense. Though the man does lead with his head on almost every single hit. Now he was quoted as saying 2 days ago that from now on he's just going to take guys' legs out
And with
because
Mike-
that's legal.
And with Mike Mitchell, this is all I got to say about him. Talk is cheap. I mean, well, you look at the tape, you look at the way he's played on the field. He was a poor $25 million investment for the Steelers, is what I feel.
One of their many.
Well, the referee Morelli, he'll have a say so in what happens next year as well.
Well, the problem, I think, with what
As
they've
well
done
he
with
should.
football, and they did this at the early part of the season when you were getting 25 to 30 penalties a game against these teams. And, you look at the Steeler game, for example. How is there such a big disparity in the amount of penalties the Steelers got as compared to what the Ravens got? The Ravens were holding James Harrison every play for 10 years. He's been held. They're leading with the head, hitting people in the head. They're holding defensively. They're grabbing people's face masks, and the calls aren't being made. But on every third down, if the Steelers made a play, it got negated by some type of a penalty.
Luckily, they don't bet on games.
Call it down the middle. How could one team have so many more penalties than
You know
another?
what?
There's
Though,
something
on
wrong with
Saturday
that.
night, Chip, over at Hinesfield, there was third downs where it had nothing to do with a penalty. Man, they were unable to
get off
come
on third down
correct.
the whole game. You're
They made
absolutely
Joe
right.
Flacco look a heck of a lot better than I truly believe he is.
And that's
on
what
Saturday.
parity in the NFL does. A guy that's overachieving a little bit, and you got a team that's underachieving and trying to sabotage themselves on their play calling and how they run the team. Look at what happens.
You guys don't agree that what would it have hurt in the fourth quarter to just let it rip, to just let it loose, let Antonio Brown
Since
let
we're
every
on
fire-
Z time, how could the guy who I've never been for, I don't hate Todd Haley. I have apathy for him. Look that up. It's in the Funkin' Wagnalls. Apathy means you don't
Is it
care. Yeah, one way or the other.
1915?
Yeah, they had apathy back then.
Okay.
Todd Haley should not have been here. When you script plays and all that, I know I'm piling on because they did lose, but I've said it every game, so I have to finish the year out with this. The way he called the plays, sure, the players could have played a little better, but some of the play calling is so suspect. What were you thinking? I mean, come on now. You're either going to go ahead, NFL scout.
No, I didn't mean I was going to wait.
You
till
got to go
you're
bathroom?
done.
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
But I thought
It's
about
an open
you.
discussion. I
I thought about
get that
you.
door ready.
I thought about you during the game when I broke down the numbers. 54 passes. The Steelers had only 19
Attempted runs.
attempted rushes, and Ben got mutilated.
Pummeled.
And like you said before, and I've heard you the only one on any station that have said that he was brought in to protect Ben, and Ben didn't look protected.
Well, if you look at the last
Exactly.
5 games of the season, Ben got
agree.
sacked 3 times in 5 games. And then he got crushed this past Sunday. And that was because they didn't have to worry about a run game.
But
They didn't have a running game to consider, so they just pinned their ears back. And I do believe that they were trying to open it up. Ben didn't have time. And Ben had to rush his throws.
And he was concussed towards the end there.
What
And-
I would rather look at is a 2015 games where
Oh,
he's going to
forget
get
it.
hit a lot.
See, I
Some
don't
great
want to. I'm
defenses
not going to
next
get
year.
into the business of speculating on a season upcoming where I
We
don't
will.
know what the draft is going to behold. I don't know what players
Will they
are coming
sign
in.
Ben?
I don't know if Ike Kiesel, Harrison Polamalu, Cortez Allen, or Jason Worlds are still going to be members of the collective group. So I'm not going to get into
Cortez Allen will be back.
to speculate. I don't know. That remains to be seen.
They
They
just
just told
signed
you.
him.
He's in
He
trouble.
just had surgery on his knee. 2 weeks ago. He's recovering from knee surgery. He will be back next year. That you can count on. All the rest of them, I don't know. I mean, if I could get Jason Worlds for half of what they paid him this year, I might be interested in putting him on the roster. But at $10 million, he was a bust.
But listen to this. As his representative, you just paid him $10 million in 2014. Why in the heck would we settle for half? You know, we're going to make
Here's
the case
what I
that
would
he's
say.
still the same player. He gave you what he gave you
Hey,
last
Zach.
year. You gave him $10 million.
Zach, here's what I would say. What would you think if you're Worlds? What are you worth? Just tell me what you're worth.
$10 million.
Thank you. That's a no-brainer. That's an easy one. Will you get that? No.
No, not from us.
No.
But he'll probably go to the somewhere.
To the
like-
Raiders.
Now let's think
Yeah.
about this though. When
All right.
Todd Haley was brought in to be the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Yeah.
what I understand that he was brought in to try to like protect Ben,
And not be his friend.
but in the same sense though,
They said
think
that.
about this. Todd Haley's reputation though, what he didn't establish the most prolific running attack in Kansas City while he was down there. He wasn't known for a smash mouth zone running scheme that was.
What was he
like
known for?
Passing the ball. You know, they
And
opened
so
it
he's
up. They
true to
passed
the dink
ball.
and dunk, like Chips brought up,
West
and other
Coast
people.
offense,
Right.
you know.
With the old school Steeler game, which Rooney Jr., who's not Jerry Jones, as Smoking Jim told
Who's
us.
really in charge
Right.
of everything.
Told us that's what's going to happen. And that's why I looked through the curtain that he's not about the running game. He just happened to have a right guy in there. And what nobody's even talking about, whether Munchak's a great coach or not, I really don't know. He's a good coach, and he did change things. But Pouncey was healthy for the whole year. Same with DeCastro. That alone makes a difference.
Well, and I tell you what, and Mike Munchak, I think, earned his pay and should probably be assistant
Yeah,
coach
he
of the
did.
year because he got David DeCastro to block the guys with the other colored jerseys.
Well, they found
Except on
out.
Saturday.
Yeah,
night.
they
We
found out.
took a step back on Saturday
Yeah,
night.
he's a rare colorblind type of guy. Usually you can see black and gold. Okay?
Usually.
Yeah,
You
usually.
can you
I
can
didn't see
So,
that
I mean,
differentiate.
that's a good one. But that's part of the problem. You had healthy guys, you just didn't have healthy guys at the tackle position. Because it's nice to have a future Hall of Fame tight end block.
If I could go through the
enjoy
list, though, I believe Jason Rhodes will get $7 or $8 million somewhere else. Cortez Allen, like you guys alluded to, is hurt, so he'll probably be back. I believe we've seen the end of Troy Polamalu. I don't think he's going to play for anybody
His
else.
wife wants
I
him
think
to
he's
quit.
done.
No, you know, and
His
I
body's
think,
done.
No, and I think that actually the Steelers were playing a better brand of defense when Will Allen was playing the safety position the last 2 or 3 games. of the
Three
season.
games.
Yeah, but I mean, Troy. I think it looks. If you watched him play, and the thing is, Troy's probably still better than most safeties in the NFL right now, is the way he stands. The
don't
thing
think
is, he played at such a high level for such a long period of time that anything less than the way he was playing before is just not
the
good enough.
The position
for
is
us.
called safety. Safety. Like the game is over for him now. All he can do is come up. He
was a hybrid,
He does not
though.
possess the speed anymore and the coverage ability. He will get smoked down the field with Ike Taylor. Them two combined on one guy will get burned together. They'll both be chasing.
Well, if you
and
don't
Jarvis
have the
Jones.
speed-
So now you got 3 players in pursuit. All that you know that can run, but they'll be chasing. But my thing on Jarvis Jones is, this was his second year. For most of it, he had an injured thumb. I mean, my thumb hurts every
I
day.
knew
and
it
I
would
still
come
go out
up.
there and play. So how you can barely tackle good anyway. So what
Hold
is
it.
your thumb
Time
look like?
out
Put a
before we
cast
end
on
this.
it, and let's go out there and wrap up.
Before we end this, wherever we're rambling, because I have all these segments, somehow we lost them. How did you hurt your thumb?
Playing football.
And I rest my case. Smoking Jim, this is your segment.
Thank you, sir.
You can give us a moment there about that, because I'll go to On Location since you mentioned it. Since whatever we mentioned, I'm trying to get out of the way. So bring up about this gentleman who
It'll
battled
just be-
cancer for 5 years. So.
Well, I tell you what, it'll be very, very quick because most people know I don't watch much TV, and I've only seen Sports Center about 5 times in my whole life, and
That's enough.
I've only seen Stuart Scott, but I heard about him more so than anything else, and I tell you what, he was a guy that did things his own way. He was a guy that was his sound bites was outstanding. I was in North Carolina one year, a few years back, quite a number of years back, and it was the same. And this was the most impressive thing. One of the most impressive things I can say about Stuart Scott, real quick, is, and this impressed me. I'm in North Carolina, and I see Stuart Scott on TV. I'm walking past appliance store, and I see him on TV, and I find out he is the keynote speaker at the North Carolina University commencement exercises. Wow. He was a graduate there, and here he's a sports broadcaster and still a pretty young man, and he was invited back to be the keynote speaker at a graduation of a major university, and that impressed me a lot because I knew I wasn't going to get those kind of calls. But finally, this past June, I was able to catch live the Jimmy V, because Jimmy
Yes.
V is a guy that really inspired me. I almost read some of his books. And
Key thing almost.
yeah, and when Stuart Scott got up there and spoke from the heart for 14 minutes and talked about the love of his daughters, and he was an MMA fighter. He was practicing MMA.
In the octagon, yes, sir.
And that's why it hit me so hard when he died, because he looked healthy. I thought, if anybody could beat cancer, all the money that he got the best medical care and all. So it doesn't, live your life, everybody out there. If you got people in your life that you love, tell them that you love them. Best friend love you. And
which one?
also, I tell you what, it doesn't matter how much money you got in this world. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. So life, he did a great job.
Stuart Scott was as cool as the other side of the pillow.
Just
There you go.
the one thing I want to say about Stuart Scott, and I watched him evolve as a sportscaster on ESPN, and I will honestly say this: he did, I believe, as much for sportscasting, as Chris Berman did when he first came to ESPN.
That was my
and made the highlights really something. The reason why
wanted
you
to watch
watched
it.
ESPN, because you wanted to watch Chris Berman do the highlights. Well, as much as Chris Berman did for ESPN, I believe Stuart Scott did equally as much and was equally as much of an icon. And
But the dynamic duo
it's a
was
sad
Rich
thing that
Eisen
he's gone.
and Stuart Scott.
See,
That was the
I didn't even
1-2
know that.
combination. And Rich Eisen is now on the NFL Network,
Right.
and he got all choked up.
Until
But
he cried. I
Stu
didn't even
Scott-
know they was together.
Stu Scott did it for
Right.
21 years. I'm 30 years old, so for 21
grew
years
up
of
with
my
him.
life,
You grew up with
Stuart
him.
Scott was doing the highlights
Stuart
on
Scott
ESPN.
said in closing at the end of his speech at the Jimmy V Awards this past summer, he said, when you die from cancer, that's not letting cancer beat you. The way you beat cancer is in the way that you live your life when you have cancer, and you live your life to the fullest, because tomorrow is not promised.
Well, when you die from cancer, it beats you.
Not so much. I mean, look at how many people he's inspired with the way he lived with cancer.
Smoking Jim, I'm just glad you're not in the hospital.
Listen,
let's have a
if you
moment
come
of
to
silence.
Bethel Park, if you come to Bethel Park and you take exception to this guy, hey, I'm.
We'll just have a
Hey,
moment of silence, because these guys can go on and on. For a great guy that I listen to with my son a lot of times too, and I just respected his opinions. I didn't always agree with them, so may he rest in peace.
Stu.
All right. Now we'll go to On Location. We were last night, first show out at Atria's with 3-degree weather, wind chill factor. We had a nice crowd there. Smoking Jim was the only one who wasn't cold, didn't have a jacket or anything. He just had that classy sweater you can see on Facebook.
He borrowed it from the Chin.
No, we found out that
Argyle?
wasn't the Chins. If you notice at Atria's,
It was a Coogee.
it says 1930. We're starting to hone in on when he was born. We're narrowing it down, folks.
He was around during Prohibition.
Mario Tempest, who just come out of the hospital, that should have cheered you up a little. We're getting close to his undisclosed age. I don't know how close, but we're getting there. We had a lot of fun. We had some great guests there, from somebody that interviewed Zach Brenner, Jennifer Lee, life coach, Jennifer Hain. She was on there, a great guest.
Oh, that's a great
Cody
interview.
Heyer. We had a couple surprises. I want to give a shout out to a 14-year-old girl who beat an undefeated fighter Catherine Bateman, just a great guest. And the best part, Smoking Jim, he called her champ. That was her first fight, and she's from KO.
Right.
Same with her parents. Go KO, because he said nobody ever won anything there. All of you ex-KO guys. I just ran into a friend of mine at the store, Bruce Austin. He actually graduated with me in 1974 and played at Penn State.
Really?
Yeah, very good ball player. Check him out. He lives in
Football?
Upper St. Clair right now. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
that's great.
Yep. They
And-
remember a guy named Mad Stork that used to play for the Dolphins?
Yeah.
His type of play was just like that. He blocked punts,
Really?
defensive end, tough guy.
So he played with Matsui and those guys.
Yes, he
back in
did.
the day.
So,
But my
Yeah.
dad still talks about the basketball twins from KO. So my dad's a
those
big
are the
fan of
Werner
those.
brothers.
Yeah.
Both personal friends of mine. John Werner's the older one. Had a nice career at Duquesne. Jeff Werner was 6'11" in 8th grade.
Wow.
I was only about 5'7", 5'8" at the time. We were best friends all through high school. I got up to the towering height of 6 foot tall.
Hey, I got
Wow.
some fiction and fact for you.
These are
gentlemen.
all facts.
Has anybody in your neighborhood won the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Not that I know of. I'll have to check that. So, Charlie Batch, he can't live on his coattails forever. Come on now. He would have
Also, the
moved
guy
out.
from San Francisco, the running back from Pitt.
Walker.
Well, I have a late-breaking announcement that Atria's got a hold of me right before we left. We're supposed to do a show on the 19th. That got canceled. We'll be there on the 21st, and I'll have flyers and promote that. That'll be Wednesday the 21st. So we'll be doing our show at Atria's there. Then,
Hump day.
yeah, we're back. Yeah, that's a good day for Smoking Jim and his BFF.
Mike.
And then at Duke's Rib House and Grill, we'll be there next week. And we got a special segment. It's a boxing segment. Jose Carabella, the Puerto Rican Prince, is bringing 5 women boxers, his son, and his other boxers out of his gym.
Oh,
So
that's
he'll
gonna
be
be
there.
great.
We got a few other guests that have to confirm. So it's going to be a fun night there. So check that out. And Smoking Jim, I want to give some credit to him.
I loved it.
He didn't know what was on this sandwich.
Man,
Did
there
he
wasn't
ate it?
anything left on that plate.
It's a better performance. The Taco Machine Big Mouth Burger got destroyed.
It did. It
But
got lit up.
I wouldn't have been able to do it without you because you took the first bite and I seen all that drip. It'd have dripped all over me if I didn't see you, so I knew to hold it over my plate.
I know you did. It's a messy burger.
Oh, it was so good. One of the best I ever had.
And that's what we have now. We have some segments, and Zach likes to steal my thunder. Chip couldn't help himself because I already knew what happened, so I didn't set you up to fail. You did great. Because I also had the Hall of Fame stuff just to get there in Piazza.
Okay.
I put that there just in case you didn't cover it because I thought you were going to have a lot of trivia on that.
Piazza
Well,
made it?
you know what?
He missed
no,
it.
he missed. He missed.
Fine.
But you know, when I kind of communicated with Al this afternoon and alluded to
No
what was
brainer.
possibly gonna be on the trivia tonight. But yeah, I thought it was important when we did the Hall of Fame stuff. You know, like the first question I had. Okay, you got 80. How many guys vote? You know, and I did some digging and I found out.
I'm
how
glad you
many
did
votes
because that
does
was
it
my
take to
first
win?
question I was going to ask you, not who got in or how many.
Yeah, but it is important to know. But you know, the guys are well deserved, and you know, and you know, getting into the Hall of Fame, and a lot of times, it's a popularity contest. You know, and
Like
if-
MVPs.
just. You know, if you want to get in Jim's Hall of Fame, buy him a steak dinner.
All right,
Or
enough
be a
of,
beautiful looking den.
well, that doesn't always work because he got a whole stable there. All right, now another thing. We'll do another segment here. Just hit this segment here. We're trying to get these segments straightened out.
Quack, quack.
College,
Is the Tiger here? Is this prime time? What name do we? Can you get a close up?
yeah, it's.
We're gonna talk Oregon and Ohio State. I'm not gonna go too deep in it, but Oregon will win.
I because I am not an Ohio State fan, I'm going to agree with that. But here's the thing I find most amusing. You know, we had the first year of the college playoffs, so the top 4 teams got to go, and Ohio State upset number 1 ranked Alabama. Didn't see that coming. They did
No.
it with a 3rd-string quarterback. And they beat them pretty handily. You know, that goes without saying. Florida State got crushed. And I mean, literally crushed. I mean, Oregon Oregon just ran all over them. The thing I find so amusing is out of people that post on Facebook, I kind of chuckle at a lot of the things that I read. But it's funny how in the last week I've seen more people that said that they've always been Oregon fans, but yet have never heard a peep out of them or a quack all year long. But now everybody's an Oregon fan. But I'm an Oregon fan for the championship game. I want to see them beat Ohio State.
If I might interject
wanna
real
interject?
fast on Ohio State, though.
Okay.
This isn't like pro football, Chip. The third-string quarterback in college football, it was the 2013 number one Ohio State Player of the Year, or whatever, potentially.
Right,
so
they're quality.
it's it's not like
And college.
They're all number one
yeah,
picks.
you could have
you also have 100 kids on
Correct.
there.
Correct. Now you got a red shirt, blue chip guy.
You got two times the amount of players than they have on an NFL roster.
Yeah, so
Well,
the
right.
third string quarterback for our good buddy over there, Urban Meyer, is not the third string quarterback of your Arizona.
Well, you heard this here first. Braxton Miller never play another down at Ohio State.
Yeah, he's already looking for a way out.
What he should do, and I suggest, is he go by way of
Come to
Russell Wilson. If he got his degree, he can go and graduate and play at another school.
And be eligible next year.
And this
Yes.
second team quarterback that got hurt, he ought to be a gimmick because his third string quarterback is the real deal. But I will say this: I've been saying all year long that the SEC was weak this year, and it was proven out. Only one team in the country can beat Oregon, and it's not Ohio State. I've already put heavy money on Oregon blowing out Ohio State, but the best team in the country didn't get an opportunity to play, and that's TCU.
That's an argument for another day. We
Get
covered
outta
these
here.
playoffs. Let's just move
Get outta
on.
here.
In fact,
We're
the
running
difference-
out of time
The
here.
only team that beat Oregon was Arizona.
Let's
And
try another
My
segment.
best friend's the defensive coordinator.
Can you
Jeff
get this
Castile of
segment
Oregon.
can you pull in there a little?
Playoffs.
2 years in a row, dude.
Playoffs. What's your picks, guys?
I'll go
You
first.
can lead off, Chip.
I'm gonna pick the Packers beating the Cowboys. The Seahawks are gonna beat the Panthers. I've got the Ravens losing to the Patriots, and I've got the Broncos
So you're going all
losing
chalk.
to the Colts.
You know what? I got to agree with Chip. I'm actually with Chip on this one.
I have an upset special. I had one last week when I picked Carolina over Arizona.
I believe,
Okay.
and I know
Indy's
Smoking
gonna
Jim's
beat
going to take
Peyton.
exception to this, but I like that pick by Chip, and I'm going to tell you why I think Indy can beat Denver is because of Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck is a very underrated young man and a quarterback.
Underrated?
And now he's
He
not
can
under.
run. He can run. He runs about a 4.4 40 for a quarterback.
4-4.
Yeah, he's fast. He's
Wow.
fast.
But
I
you
wanted
know-
to say 4.3, but I know it's not that
Yeah.
fast.
The one thing I have noticed in Peyton Manning in the last few games that he played, he seems to be off. His passes aren't as crisp and as sharp.
Well, he got his arm.
Doesn't have the velocity.
His
that he's
arm's
had.
rested now. That's what the bye week will do for you. But here's my
Okay.
prediction.
All right,
I took
we-
a lot
we've
of
been
heat.
waiting.
I took a lot of heat 3 years ago when I had Russell Wilson as my number one rated quarterback, Andrew Luck number 2, and I didn't have RG3 in the top 10. Russell Wilson wins his second Super Bowl again, and he beats the legendary Peyton Manning. It'll be Denver and Seattle again.
Okay, good enough.
I don't think, but
No, we're all entitled to our opinions.
Who you got going to Super Bowl?
I'm liking the Packers and the Colts.
The Packers. Your boy got a bad calf.
It doesn't matter. They shoot them up.
That's what the bye
They
week.
need
I'm
'em.
That's what the bye
on a
week
limb,
does.
and I'm going Seattle versus New England, and Belichick and them boys break out the cameras, and they get back to 5.
Ooh.
Wow, are you on the camera with them? Okay. No, we got the inside scoop.
It's only cheating. if you
I
lie.
just threw this one out. You guys can read it, and then we can talk because you like covering a couple subjects.
The Penguins and the Pirates.
Can we
Penguins,
get a close-up on here?
Penguins have been going through a
we go.
difficult spell. It's hard for them to keep a healthy roster together, and right now I
It's
would say-
traditional, though.
Or score goals.
And this is the way I feel about the Penguins right now. Right now, the Penguins team as it sits, I believe they're going to be a first-round exit in the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to go very far in them. That could all change because it's only
Health.
January 6th, and they've got a couple of months, and they need to make some more moves. They traded for a winger. They put him on Crosby's line. And, Sid needs to show everybody in the world why he has been referred to as the best player on the planet? Because I don't believe that he's playing like
I
one.
mean, he did have mumps. He was sick. His face was as blown up as that movie
Balloon.
from the 80s. You know what I'm talking?
Yeah.
But
I am not an animal.
But the promising thing is that Marc-Andre Fleury, the goaltender for the Pittsburgh Penguins, number 29, so far the MVP through however many games we are this season. I don't think we're at the All-Star break yet, are we?
No.
No,
We're
that
not at
doesn't
the
happen
All-Star
until
break.
February.
So Marc-Andre Fleury still playing
After
strong.
the Super Bowl.
What we need is to just, continue to, build some consistency with the defense, get that offense healthy. I mean, you can't. Pascal Dupuis went down for the season. I mean, there's just some guys that you just can't replace. What I like to see is I like to see Malkin and Craig Adams fighting in practice. And Craig Adams leaving with a bloody mouth. That's what I like to see.
I
'cause
posted
that
that.
just makes me feel good.
Did you see that on Pittsburgh Sportsline?
Them
I
Russians
did.
can fight,
It
boy.
may make you feel good, and it may be funny and all, but the last thing in the world you need one of your superstars doing is fighting a teammate, potentially injuring himself, not being able to be there for the rest of the team. He needs to make better decisions, I believe.
Well, I don't think they're going to change him at this stage of his career. No matter what coach has him, he seems like another one of the prima donna elite players. And hockey's full
Russian.
of that.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Whoa, Russian, it doesn't matter. Canadian, a lot of the Canadians, they're like that. It happens all the
I
time.
say Russian because look what you can put Malkin in the same category as Ovechkin. Just Ovechkin comes from a different part of Russia, so he got a different kind of swag about him. Malkin's
Is
more
that
of a
like
farm. farm-
Monroeville and Homestead?
Nah,
Monroe, I mean, they got different swags.
we got different swag.
That's
It's
my
not like,
point.
It's not like Monroeville's super ahead of us, and we're super ahead
Well,
of
you can
Monroeville.
argue with the Penguins. Here's what I'm happy to see: they're bringing up young players because they have a tradition of injuries, sicknesses, and everything else that have played well. So you're getting experience right now. Where if you do get in the playoffs, maybe you can trust a couple
But
of
we
these young
did
guys.
trade
Well,
a first-round pick in the draft for this kid that we got from Edmonton.
Well, which will probably be the 27th or the 28th pick in the draft, which,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
not-
ultimately it's not like,
not
there's
the
usually,
first
once you get
five.
past the first 5 picks in the NHL draft, it's not like the NFL draft. But,
No, it can't be. They don't.
you know,
pull from
I
that many
think really
players.
what the Penguins need more than anything else is to get their superstars to start playing like superstars instead of playing as role players.
And not to do it in practice. Put that toughness out there. Go attack one of the other goons on the other teams and get knocked out. That cures the Mad Russian. And now we'll go to the Pirates. When is spring training? Are we
That's
at
a good
48
question.
days or?
How many
Spring
days?
training, second week of February, the pitchers and catchers will report. And there's really not much to report with what's going on.
Just
with
wanted
the
to get
Pirates
the
right
interest
now.
going.
There's still some questions that need to be answered. Are the Pirates going to extend Neil Walker? Are we going to sign this young man from Korea, the shortstop that we won the rights to
5 point
draft?
some million?
Thought
know,
Hines Ward was coming out of retirement.
Not yet.
Kim Jong-un.
No, but the Pirates, I think what they've done is they've done a good job at stocking the shelves. They've addressed all of the needs they were deficient in. I believe Gregory Polanco will have his breakout year this year, and will show everybody why he is the right fielder of the future. I think we're real strong in the outfield, and even Travis Snyder is a backup. I think it's a quality backup. I think he's earned his position there. First base, still got a question mark. We brought in somebody to complement Pedro Alvarez. And Pedro Alvarez, whether he likes it or not, he's going to play first. And he
He
needs
may
to
not
get,
be here long.
he,
That's
he
all.
needs to hit the ball, because right now we can't give him away. He's got to earn his way off, because ultimately, the end of 2016, he's gone anyhow, because that's all long.
And that's
we
it
have
for
control.
Pirate Talk. We're almost done with this. Say goodnight, Zach.
Good
Good night,
night.
Smoking Jim.
Go Pitt!
Good night.
Woo!
Good night, Chip.
Good night, Chip.
Hey!
And thank you, everybody, for watching us. We're trying to get a little more focused, but here's what I say with these segments. Next week, I'll try again. Maybe the cameraman will be right on it so you can see it right away. But thanks, Tiger, for being here. Your streak is alive. First show, made it on time. Devin Shea's in there. Big Matt's in there. He let me see old-time tickets. It was a pleasure seeing that. Thanks, everybody. Stay warm. Be safe.